This is the story of Hiko Shima, a boy who's lost all hope for his future. Just like, there's no hope for your future. My bad, you guys are my love. Hiko grew up in a family that never showed him love. Not his parents or even his siblings. After he lost his mom and his right hand in an accident, his dad gave up on him too. Bro could have gotten prosthetic tool just like this starving wolf. His dad saw him as useless without his dominant hand, so he pulled him out of school and sent him off to live alone in their villa in the deep mountains of Chiba, far from anyone else. At the villa, Hiko became more lonely and depressed each day. He wondered if it would be easier to just sleep and never wake up. But one cold winter night, he heard a knock on the door. When he opened it, he found a girl named Yuzu. She'd come to marry him, sent by his father. No wealthy family would want to marry their daughter to Hiko, so his dad had bought a bride who would take care of him. Feeling sorry for her traveling in the cold, Hiko offered her his coat and showed her to her room. Then, without a word, he went back to his own room. But that night, like so many before, he lay awake. Where's that scene from hentai? The next morning, Hiko heard noise in the house. No, not this noise. Yuzu was already awake, cleaning. She was lively and wanted to help. She even washed his face and told him he needed more sleep to avoid dark circles, which Hiko found pretty annoying. He went back to his room, but she followed him, cleaning the room around him. Later, she went out to buy vegetables and made breakfast. Despite her efforts, Hiko didn't like having her around. He was used to his routine, and she was making it feel even worse. One day she tried to help him in the bath, and Hiko thought, "What the fuck is wrong with this girl?" He figured she'd had an easy life since she was so cheerful and bold, but Yuzu revealed she had her own hardships. She'd been sold to cover her parents' debt. She'd lived a rough life too. Seeing her get embarrassed about her wavy hair, Hiko laughed for the first time in a long time, but he quickly apologized. Yuzu, though, was glad she could make him smile. He pushed her out so he could finish his bath in peace. It was December 31st, 1921. To Hiko, the year's end didn't matter. His family didn't care if he was alive or dead. That night, Yuzu came in after lighting a fire and made him tea. Hiko, frustrated, asked if she hated being married to him, a pessimistic man with only one hand. But Yuzu surprised him by singing a song that reminded him of his Pokemon, his mom. When he asked why she was so kind to him, she explained that when she was sold for 10,000 yen, she was terrified of who she might end up with. But when she met him, she saw he was gentle and knew he'd be kind to her, so she wanted to be kind to him too. She held his hand and asked if they could sleep in the same room to celebrate the new year. Hey, what kind of celebration is this, Hiko? You naughty. Hiko, a bit freaked out, agreed, but then realized she meant literally just sleeping in the same room. When he woke up, it was New Year's Day, and Yuzu had made a traditional breakfast. Later, while Yuzu was taking a bath, Hiko accidentally walked in. Embarrassed, he quickly closed the door and ran off. Yuzu apologized, calling herself disgraceful, but Hiko reassured her he hadn't seen anything. Haha. Liar. Then, a letter arrived from Hiko's father. It said his brother and sister had received marriage offers, but if people knew about Hiko, it would bring shame to the family. So his father had decided to declare Hiko dead in the accident. Heartbroken, Hiko told Yuzu to stay away. Yuzu couldn't sleep that night, worrying about him. When she finally checked on him, she found he had a fever and was feeling even more hopeless, thinking it would be better if he just disappeared. But Yuzu held his face, telling him that he mattered. He can still jerk off with his left hand. The next day, when his fever broke, Hiko went to find Yuzu and thanked her by inviting her to Tokyo. She was so happy, finally this dude did something. And together they explored the city. Hiko, usually terrified of crowds, pushed through for her sake. He even bought her a kimono, and she promised to treasure it, even passing it down to their future children, making Hiko blush. Soon after, Hiko's younger sister Tamako arrived unexpectedly to stay for a few days. She was rude, calling Hiko a ghost since the family had declared him dead. She teased Yuzu, calling her short, but Yuzu took it all in stride. Hiko apologized, but Yuzu brushed it off, saying she liked Tamako's cheerful nature and even wanted to be her friend. Slowly, Hiko was beginning to find light in his life again. It wasn't easy, but Yuzu was there, helping him find hope. Ha ha ha. Fucker. Tamako overhears a conversation and tells Hiko she's not here to be friends. When Hiko asks why she came if he's dead to the family, Tamako laughs, recalling how their family pretended to be sad about his death. She refuses to eat with him and asks Yuzu to bring her dinner to her room. Bitch. The next morning, Hiko skips breakfast. Yuzu sees he's upset by Tamako's words and invites him on a walk. He agrees after she insists, and the peaceful mountain view cheers him up. They stop by a shrine, and Hiko starts to feel better. Later, Yuzu makes milk caramels, surprising Tamako, who didn't know candy could be homemade. Yuzu shares some with Hiko, making him smile, which annoys Tamako, who calls them idiots and storms off. Bitch is single just like you guys are single. That night, a storm scares Tamako. She asks Yuzu to accompany her to the bathroom, but thunder strikes again, and she's so frightened she has an accident. What the hell? Yuzu helps her get cleaned up, even combing her hair afterward. Tamako, puzzled by Yuzu's kindness, admits she's been lonely, with no friends and a father who paid servants to take care of her. Yuzu comforts her, and they end up sleeping together. Oh my god, lesbian spotted. Hiko is surprised the next morning to see Tamako happy for once. As time passes, Hiko realizes he's uncertain about his feelings for Yuzu. One day, Yuzu suddenly collapses with a fever from overworking herself. Tamako brings a doctor, who assumes Hiko treats Yuzu poorly, unaware she's not a servant. Hiko, feeling guilty, stays by Yuzu's side as Tamako cares for her. One stormy night, Hiko sneaks in to check on Yuzu and finds her struggling to remove bandages on her chest. Confused, he cuts them off, and she wakes up, embarrassed. Hiko apologizes for not being able to make her happy, but Yuzu assures him she'll be happy as long as they're together. This inspires him to become a better person for her. As Tamako prepares to leave to study medicine, Hiko thanks her for helping. She blushes, but insists she came for Yuzu. After she leaves, Hiko and Yuzu continue their quiet life together. On his birthday, Yuzu gives him a handmade bookmark, a simple but heartfelt gift. Hiko realizes he's not alone anymore. He got, haha, I have to shut up. One day, a girl named Rio sneaks into their home and steals his wallet and bookmark. Hiko later finds out Rio has a troubled life, with a father who forces her to steal. Feeling sympathy, he begins teaching Rio and her siblings. When Yuzu learns about the bookmark, she's hurt and tears it up, believing Hiko cares for Rio. But after a talk with Tamako, Hiko realizes the bookmark symbolizes Yuzu's love. He repairs it, promising never to hide things from her again. Bro is improving, but why are you not improving? In the end, Hiko and Yuzu share an understanding, and he commits to making their life together happy. Soon after, Rio's siblings come by, asking Hiko to teach them again, and life goes on with a bit more joy for everyone. Sensei Hiko agrees to teach Yuzu, but soon kids from all over the village start coming to learn from him too. Yuzu is amazed by how much they admire Hiko. While she's watching, Rio arrives to make lunch. She pulls Yuzu into the kitchen and, while cooking, Yuzu asks Rio if she likes Hiko. Rio bluntly admits she does, but she also likes Yuzu. Rio explains that just like Yuzu, she was also sold to a family. When she saw Yuzu stay strong, even after finding out about a potential affair involving the man she loved, Rio realized that Yuzu was someone special. Rio apologizes for her past actions, and Yuzu forgives her. After lunch, Hiko checks in to make sure Rio didn't say anything upsetting to Yuzu, but Yuzu reassures him that everything is fine. The kids continue visiting Hiko's house to study every day, filling their lives with energy and learning. On December 31st, Yuzu and Hiko work together to clean the house. When Hiko gets tired, he lies down and rests his head on Yuzu's lap, and she wishes him good night. Hours later, Hiko wakes up and finds Yuzu sitting alone in the cold night. He wraps her in a blanket and asks her what she's doing. Yuzu admits she was lost in thought because today is her birthday. She tells Hiko that now she's old enough, she's ready to marry him. But Hiko gently refuses, explaining that he feels he's not worthy of her yet. He wants to improve himself, continue his education, and someday be able to support their family. Yuzu understands and is willing to wait. Just being with him and seeing him happy is enough for her. Touched by her words, Hiko kisses her, flustered at how soft her lips are. As the New Year bells ring, they share a quiet, special moment. The next day, one of the village kids, Rotaro, tells Hiko he won't be able to come to lessons anymore. Later, Ryo comes running, panicked, saying that Rotaro is missing. Everyone splits up to search, and Hiko and Yuzu find him asleep in a storage room. When Rotaro wakes up, he reveals that his sister has decided to quit stealing to support them, but is struggling to make ends meet. To help her, Rotaro plans to work in Tokyo. Although he's scared to leave his family, he's determined to do it for them. Hiko is moved and tells Rotaro he's already strong for choosing this path. Just then, Ryo arrives, hugging Rotaro. Inspired by Hiko's encouragement, Rotaro decides to go to Tokyo. As he leaves on the train, he thanks Hiko for everything. Back at home, Hiko writes a letter to his father, asking for permission to attend school. To his surprise, he finally receives a reply from his uncle. His uncle believes that Hiko deserves a chance and offers to support his education. Hiko, overjoyed, immediately accepts and sets a goal to transfer into his second year of high school, meaning he'll have to study hard for the entrance exam. Meanwhile, a famous singer, Kodi Shiratori, is performing nearby. Yuzu, a big fan, really wants to go. Though Hiko prefers to study, he decides to go to make Yuzu happy. The performance is mesmerizing, and Hiko is glad he took the time off. Inspired, he returns to his studies and passes his entrance exam. The day comes for him to start his new school, and as he arrives, he meets another transfer student, Hikaru Shiratori, who is Kodi's twin brother. Hiko introduces himself, but when his classmates realize he's from a well-known family, they keep their distance, gravitating toward Hikaru instead. During PE class, Hiko arrives late, and the teacher makes everyone run laps as a punishment. His classmates blame him, further worsening his reputation. At lunch, Hiko eats alone, feeling a bit emotional. In art class, everyone has to draw someone important to them, and Hikaru sits beside Hiko, playfully teasing him about his drawing skills. They end up laughing together, breaking the ice. Hikaru later visits Hiko's house, and Yuzu is thrilled to see a friend of Hiko's. Hikaru notices how happy Yuzu makes Hiko, but when he asks Hiko about school, Hiko lies, saying he has made friends and even ran a marathon with them. Yuzu is glad to hear it, but Hikaru calls Hiko out on the lie. Hiko admits he just wanted Yuzu to be happy. Hikaru laughs and encourages Hiko to make his lie a reality, to turn his words into the truth. The next day, Hikaru brings his sister Kodi to Hiko's house. Yuzu doesn't recognize Kodi at first, but once she does, she's starstruck. Kodi is there to learn about love for her music and wants to understand Yuzu and Hiko's relationship. Hiko and Yuzu don't mind sharing their story, and Kodi joins them for a while, even observing the village kids' study sessions. The kids are thrilled to sing along with a famous star. At school, Hiko starts to fit in more. When a classmate forgets a pencil, Hiko lends him one, and they thank him. Later, Hikaru jokingly shows an adult magazine, pretending Hiko lent it to him, which makes Hiko seem cooler to his classmates. Back at home, Kodi asks Yuzu to share how she and Hiko met. Yuzu recalls her journey, how she was bought by Hiko's father to be his wife, and how anxious she felt about meeting her future husband. Through these memories and Kodi's curiosity, Yuzu and Hiko's relationship grows even stronger as they look back on how far they've come. When Yuzu first met Hiko, she was relieved to see how kind he was. Over time, she went through a mix of emotions. She felt scared but also happy. Cod, a singer looking for inspiration, asks Yuzu if Hiko is always on her mind. Blushing, Yuzu nods, and Cod feels like she understands love better. She's grateful, knowing her song will be amazing, because no one takes music as seriously as she does. Cod explains that her brother, Hikaru, was actually the first one in their family to love music. Later, Hiko shares how he feels like Hikaru has been avoiding Cod. Yuzu agrees and tells him what she heard. The next day at lunch, Hiko asks Hikaru if something is wrong between him and Cod. Hikaru opens up, sharing how he was the first to love music, but got sick and had to give up performing for years. He gave his guitar to Cod and promised to sing together when he got better. After 7 years, he recovered, but by then, Cod was famous, and he felt he couldn't keep up. Feeling inferior, Hikaru says he sees himself as pathetic. Hiko reassures him, saying he knows what it's like to feel worthless, but Yuzu gave him the strength to move forward. Hikaru realizes he wants to fulfill his promise to Cod. On the day of Cod's song debut, Hikaru surprises everyone by singing a song dedicated to her. Cod is moved and joins him on stage, and afterward, she performs her new song. Later, Yuzu, inspired by the music, feels like saying "I love you" to Hiko, but just hugs him instead. The next day, Yuzu receives a letter from her friend Midori, who shares that she's pregnant and getting married. Even though she's doing things out of order, Yuzu is happy for her. Midori invites her to Tokyo before her wedding, but Yuzu hesitates, worried about how Hiko will manage. Hiko insists she go and have fun, promising everything will be fine. They go to a village shrine to pray for Midori and her future child. Yuzu also hints that they should come back here when they have a baby, which embarrasses Hiko. The next day, Yuzu leaves for Tokyo, and they almost kiss goodbye. Hiko promises they'll do plenty of kissing when she gets back, but he immediately feels embarrassed about what he said. In Tokyo, Yuzu and Midori reconnect, spending time together. Midori worries about Yuzu's relationship, asking what she'll do if Hiko never wants to marry. Yuzu says she'll wait, even though it means she can't have the big family she dreams of. Seeing Yuzu so happy, Midori is relieved. Then, on September 1st, 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake strikes. Hiko's village is destroyed, and he begins to worry about Yuzu's safety. He decides to go to Tokyo to find her. He asks Ryo and others to look after the villagers and let those who've lost their homes stay in his grandfather's sturdy house. Hiko and Ryo arrive in Tokyo to find devastation everywhere. Hiko shouts Yuzu's name, but they can't find her. Just then, Hiko collapses from exhaustion and is helped by his uncle, who's come to Tokyo as part of a medical team. Hiko is determined to keep searching. Tamahiko, his uncle, is impressed by Hiko's determination to find Yuzu, who clearly means everything to him. In Tokyo, they split up and search everywhere, visiting first aid sites and asking about Yuzu. When they start to lose hope, they meet a young girl, Midori, who has Yuzu's good luck charm. She tells them she and Yuzu were separated while escaping, and she blames herself for Yuzu's situation. Hiko comforts her, then keeps searching. Finally, after looking tirelessly, he finds Yuzu unconscious but alive. He's relieved beyond words. When Yuzu wakes up, she hugs him tightly and says she loves him. Back at the aid station, Hiko's father, Yoshi, arrives but doesn't acknowledge Hiko, who tells him he's glad to see him safe. Yoshi leaves without a word, but Hiko doesn't let it bother him. After several days helping with recovery, they return to the village, where life begins to return to normal. A month later, the village is finally rebuilt. On Hiko's birthday, everyone gathers to celebrate, and later, he and Yuzu visit a mountain shrine. There, Yuzu tells Hiko again how much she loves him and wants to be with him always. Hiko thanks her for being in his life, and they share a kiss. If you enjoyed this recap, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Have a great day.